You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Thank you for coming along for the ride. Today is November 23rd, 2024. It's a Saturday, so it's another day for the Central Indiana Sports Report. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt, and I love Central Indiana basketball so much that I'm up at 1:30 in the morning talking about it. Welcome to the Central Indiana Sports Report, Michelle. You do too.
Yes, yes. Thank you for having me, even on this very late night, or early wee hours of the early mornings. That's just fine.
And let me just go through the scores real fast, and then you and I will talk about maybe the best game of the night, which is the one that you were at. And that was Lapel 53, Frankton 45 at Frankton. It was a lot closer than that. Elwood is 5-0 for the first time in a long time after a 43-42 win at Southwood. Greenfield Central came back to beat Pendleton Heights 60-59 in a thriller. Oak Hill is 4-0 for the first time since 2017 after beating Madison-Grant 58-14. I should say, by the way, that we heard from both coaches from the Lapel Frankton game. Elwood head coach Courtney Lickliter, Madison-Grant head coach Jace Martin. So we will have them coming up in the podcast. Western beat Tipton 63-27. Tri-Central beat Taylor 46-30. Rossville defeated Eastern 52-35 in Greentown. Wapahani improved to 2-0 with a 44-42 win at Delta. And Cass beat Northwestern 57-20. We also know that Burris won its first game of the season over Westdale. Could not find a score on that. Burris is 1-5, Westdale's 0-6. And Hamilton Southeastern beat Franklin Central 55-44 behind 30 points and 8 rebounds from Maya Mikulski.
Indiana recruit.
That's right. So let's start with your game, Michelle. Lapel 53, Frankton 45. Take it away.
Lapel's scored first, and then Frankton scored the next 8 points. Lapel added a free throw, and then Frankton hit a three. Emma Key did to go up 11-3, and they led 19. Frankton led 19-12 the end of the first quarter, and
Wow, it's a high-scoring first quarter for them.
It was actually 19-10, and then Wills scored a basket with about 2 seconds to go in the quarter to make it 19-12. Emma Key was sensational in that first quarter. Didn't miss a shot. She had 3 threes and 13 points. 13 of Frankton's 19 points. Wow. The only thing that slowed her down was she came out briefly for a little bit because she picked up 2 fouls in that first quarter. So, but yeah. And then Layla Dietzer drained a 3 to open the second quarter and put Frankton up 22-12. Lapel came back with Wills leading the way, and Wills's layup cut that Frankton lead to 24-22 with 3:20 remaining in the first half. Both teams then kind of got a little sloppy with the ball, and Frankton ended the quarter on a on a 5-2 run. Went in the halftime up 29-24. Wills scored the first 6 points of the third quarter, and then it was tied 30-30. Lapel ended up going up, taking a 37-32 lead, and led 39-35 as Wills scored just at the buzzer at the end of the third quarter. Frankton, this game was neck and neck all the way through. The fourth quarter was kind of back and forth. Frankton actually came back and they went up 44 to 43.
Wow.
And they had opportunities. They missed 4 straight free throws. They had a steal, but they missed the layup. Lapel led 44 to 43. Frankton got a basket from Sophia Hoagland off a baseline out of bounds play to go up 45-44. Miraz then came down and hit a big three-pointer for Lapel, put them up 47-45. Miraz then came up with a steal and a layup, and then Wills had a steal and a layup to push that lead to 51-45. With like a minute 50 remaining in the game. Frankton took a timeout, and I'm not really sure why they did not. And I forgot to ask Coach Bates this after the end of the game, if he was trying to get his kids to foul, but they really didn't foul. Lapel did turn the ball over with like about a minute to go. And then Frankton couldn't score. Lapel took a timeout, and they basically kind of just ran it down. And then Wills scored again with 10 seconds to go in the game. But, I wasn't sure why Frankton wasn't fouling. I don't know if it just wasn't being called or if the girls just didn't, pick up on what they wanted with 6 points. But for Frankton, what a great game. I mean, for them, this was a great performance, other than their turnovers and those critical missed free throws. If they can clean those turnovers up, be beneficial to them. But for them, this was their most consistent game, I think, from start to finish. They held their own on the boards. Was tremendous. They did a tremendous job rebounding with Lapel tonight. And they created some turnovers too, because Lapel wasn't much better in the turnover department. But if Frankton can if these girls can build upon this, if they can come back on Saturday night tonight and beat Newcastle, then they'll go into Thanksgiving on a good note. Then they play Shenandoah the Friday after Thanksgiving. So, but I think Coach Bates was pleased with what he saw tonight. And like I said, I was impressed. I thought Frankton looked better than I expected tonight, just based on some of their inconsistent play, earlier in their earlier games, especially the Muncie Central game. And I will say this: Lapel was probably not quite as sharp as I expected. Will struggled a little bit. I thought Frankton did a great job of making her earn all of her points. Wills in the fourth quarter, there was a scramble for a loose ball, and she laid on mid court, and was kind of clutching her knee. And they sent the teams over, to the bench. Frankton's trainer came out and examined her, worked on it, and everything, and helped her up. And she gingerly walked off the court, but within a minute she was back, much to the pleasure of the Bulldogs fans, team, and coaches. But she's a really good player. But like I said, Frankton did a good job. They played a zone, collapsed on her a little bit. They kind of forced Lapel to make outside jumpers to beat him, and something Lapel couldn't really do well in the first half, but did a much better job of in the second half. And you can hear this from Coach Zach Newby. He'll kind of talks about the difference between the first and the second half, and just that, this game was kind of like your typical Frankton Lapel rivalry. Here's Coach Zach Newby of Lapel.
Coach Newby, it was not always the prettiest, but your girls, I thought your team stepped up big when it really mattered most.
Yes, they did. They definitely did. And that's kind of been our MO, and that's what I'm trying to change is let's step up all the time so we don't have matters when we have to get a stop. We have to get a bucket. But you're going to play – when rivalry games and our games with Frankton are always like this, anybody that's been around knows that's how it is. They want to win. We want to win. They're going to battle. They shot it really well. Get tip cap to them. I mean, they shot it well. Their zone was pretty good. But I was proud of the girls the way they battled the whole night. They dealt with me screaming and yelling at them and, trying to motivate them. And they don't put their heads down and pout. They just try their hardest to do what I'm asking them to do. And they put themselves in a situation to win there at the end when they absolutely had to.
Key was so hot that first quarter, and they had got a couple other threes from a couple other girls. Got down, you weren't handling the ball very well. But your girls just persevered through that. Did you have a sense that they wouldn't shoot like that all night?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's their home gym. You would think that they're not going to shoot. I mean, I don't know what they shot. It had to be 80% or it's close to that. So, I mean, you would think, you're going to cool off. But my worry was you can't give them open shots. It's not like if they're hitting shots with hands right in the face, then that's one thing. But if they're hitting just wide open set shots, then that's an us problem. And that's what I thought we fixed is they stopped getting wide open shots, and then those shots didn't go because they're much more difficult shots.
Well, and I know Will struggled a little bit some off and on in that first half, but I don't know what you said or what was said in the halftime locker room, but you definitely came out and started the third quarter very strong, and I thought really kind of set the tone for the second half.
Yeah, I think we just wanted to get refocused on how did we want to start the game, because we started the game pretty well, and then it kind of got away from us. So I think at halftime we just kind of let's get refocused and let's look at what is open, because the middle of the zone was wide open. So instead of shooting threes, let's get into the middle of the zone and attack it from there. And we had a lot of success in the third quarter doing that.
Yeah, and then you had some players I thought did a nice job stepping up around because of the way they were swarming in on Wills.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have other kids that need to get a little bit more confident in their ability to play. I have them out there for a reason. And it's not all about – it can't be all about Lanaya all the time. Other kids are going to have to step up and make plays. I thought Taylor Morose did a good job.
She was especially down there, that stretch there in the fourth quarter when you put it away. She was huge.
Yeah, and Layla finally at the end did a good job of just taking care of the basketball. She had a big rebound there at the end to seal it. So kids are starting to see it. Jane came off the bench and hit a big three. It's a big game for her because she came from Frankton. So I think they're going to start to see it. And if those kids get a little confidence, then that's when we could be, trouble for other people.
Were you scared at all when Wills was down on the court?
I mean,
the knee a little bit?
A little bit, but I try not to focus too much on that. I just try, when somebody's hurt, I try to focus on coaching the kids that are going to be on the floor and, let the trainers and all that figure that out. Obviously I never want to see anybody get hurt, but for me, our best player, our worst player, and when a kid gets hurt, I don't want to see that regardless, but injuries are part of the game, so you just got to, move on.
Will's finished with a game-high 29 points, and I don't have rebounds because I was taking pictures while I was doing this. So I'm sure I'll get those rebound totals later. But
that gives me a chance. Real fast, Michelle. That gives me a chance to remind the listeners that on Monday, or probably first thing Tuesday, we will have our girls basketball week in review. We'll also do with the boys every week, where we will get into more stats and highlights because there will be more that are available after the weekend, and so we can tell you what happened in all of these games. When we do these quote unquote live scoreboards, we probably won't get into a ton of stats. So that's fine, and we will let everyone know how many rebounds she had on Monday.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, I know it was a double-double. I do know she had more than 10 rebounds. There's no doubt in my mind. I just don't have the final, but she did finish with a game-high 29 points. She was Lapel's only player in double figures.
Played a little point guard.
Yes, she plays a little point guard. She plays center. She plays wing forward. She plays basically all 5 positions on the court at some time.
Magic Johnson.
Yes. Taylor Miraz was next with 8 points, and like I said, she had some critical steals and deflections for Lapel, and I think she is the key to them going forward. They need her because she does have a really nice outside shot. All 8 of her points came in the second half, including 2 threes, and the big one, the big one that put them up to stay. So if she could just if she could just be aggressive from start to finish in a game and look for her shot and become that secondary scorer, Lapel then becomes a more dangerous team. Then you had Sophie Goodwin with 6 points, and no one else had more than 2 or 3. So those were your leaders for Lapel. And for Frankton, after scoring 13 of Frankton's 19 first quarter points, Key was held to just 6 points the rest of the game. She had her 4-3 in the second quarter, and then had just a free throw in the third quarter, and 1 basket there in the fourth quarter. So she had 19 points. And Curtis had a nice game for Frankton tonight. She hit a 3 actually in the first quarter and finished with 10 points. And she probably also had a double-double on the game. She was really active on the glass for the Eagles tonight. So it gave Frankton 2 players in double figures, something they haven't had a lot of this season. Dietzer finished with 5 points, as did Lainey Hamaker. Lainey hit one of the threes in one of Frankton's 5 3-point baskets in the first quarter. Frankton's, the big thing was the third quarter. They only scored 6 points, only had 16 points in the second half overall. I do think they maybe got tired a little bit, as you're going to hear from Coach Jeff Bates.
I thought you had a nice consistent flow tonight.
Thank you. I was really proud of the way they played. They stuck to our game plan. And, anytime the team sticks to the game plan and works their tails off, you have a chance. They battled. And that's the thing I think I'm the most proud of with them. Shots kind of come and go. But that effort, that's what you always want to see.
Did you kind of hate to go down at halftime or even have that little first quarter break? Because, you
Yes.
guys came out, and especially you guys.
I was like, let's just keep this thing going.
You
keep
shot
it going.
so well in the first quarter, and even kind of through the first half. And I sit there, I thought, gosh, they're probably not. Franklin's not going to want to see halftime just because you have to get off the floor, and sometimes you can cool down a little bit.
Yeah, and I think there was a little bit of cool off there because obviously they came out with some, and then we told them they're going to come out and try to exploit these areas, and they did. And so we didn't adjust quite well enough that third quarter and got it behind. But then we battled back and went back ahead in the fourth. So I was really happy with them.
Yeah, unfortunately, in the fourth, you had opportunities. You had opportunities to kind of do what they did there at the end to separate.
Yes.
0 for 4 at the free throw line.
Yeah.
You miss you turn the ball over. It looks like you're going to go in and miss layup, and it's just it was just kind of like
silly
bad,
stuff. Some silly bad plays
breaks.
There. Well, but I know that they recognized what they did, and so we'll get those corrected. I hope, and we'll take the next step, and that's our goal. Take that next step, and maybe get a win out of these the next time.
Well, and I thought too, after seeing your early scores and your scoring, your books and stuff, that you kind of struggled with finding secondary scorers. And I thought tonight you got nice contributions from several kids. I haven't looked exactly at their final point total, but I thought you're on the verge of finding the third score.
Yes.
Consistent score.
Yes, and with a new group like this who are trying to find their identity, you're going to have a little bit of that, and they're starting to kind of settle in. And we found, in fact, I think everybody contributed at some point in time, one way or another. And that's the thing that I was probably the happiest about.
I thought rebounding you looked good. I was going to say, probably the only thing I thought that, and I know when you have a young team, it's something you always work on to clean up, is turnovers. I thought a little sloppy with the ball, but I thought your effort on the boards, your girls' effort on the boards was tremendous.
Thank you. I was really proud of that, and that kept us in it. That extra work. We've struggled a little bit with the turnovers to start the season. Part of it is nerves. They're just starting, for some of them, the first starts, first varsity games, and so there's a little bit of that too, but they're starting to settle in.
So I'm going to guess you're kind of now anxious to kind of see how they come back and respond tomorrow night against Newcastle?
Yeah. So keep our fingers crossed. Let's go get a win tomorrow.
Yeah. Also, I thought, and it's really hard, I think, to contain her because she's just so athletic and good, but I really thought you guys defensively made life tough for Wills.
We were trying to make life tough on her. It's tough to make life tough on Wills. We were doing our best. I don't know what was her final.
I don't know.
Count, do you remember?
I don't know.
But anyways, we were doing our best to make it tough on her. And that's not easy.
Tomorrow night, then what, you're off for a week, right?
I think so. Our
Shenandoah next Friday night after that?
Yeah. So we got Newcastle, then Shenandoah. Newcastle got some nice young kids. Last year they were really young. Those kids are a year older, and they've got a nice group in now. So we are going to have to play just as well against them.
Hey, Michelle, it's great to be an Elwood Panther. The Elwood Panthers are 5-0 after their biggest win of the year, 43-42 at Southwood. Breland Norris scored 25 points. Kendra Lee 18 points despite missing 6 free throws. And Kelsey Arms scored 4 points and made some huge defensive plays. So if you count that up, that's 42 of the 43 points between those 3 players. It's Elwood's first 5-0 start in 15 years. Southwood led 15-9 at the end of the first, 19-18 at halftime, and 35-31 at the end of the third. But Elwood, their first really competitive game, found a way to get it done.
Yeah, and Elwood did something they really didn't do last year, and that was close out a game. So great fourth quarter by the Lady Panthers. Again, hats off to Elwood Athletic Director Ryan Van Skyok, who knows that Elwood needs to win. They need to have some success to start to rebuild these programs. And so when he came in as athletic director, one of the first things he started doing was he started looking at all the schedules, and he started rearranging, replacing teams, taking the tough teams off and replacing them with smaller schools, knowing that, okay, maybe a Anderson Prep doesn't prepare you for a 2A sectional that includes, like this year, Lapel and Sheridan.
Right. But when you have good teams later in the future, hopefully, then you rebuild that schedule up. That's exactly
right.
how you get it done.
But to rebuild that program, to get numbers back, to make those kids
right.
want to keep coming back, they need to win.
That's right.
They want to win a sectional, but they just need to win. They need experience winning. So
and they sure are winning right now.
Yes, he's dumbed down the schedule a little bit, and there's no, because you can do that,
Yes.
but you still have to go out and get it done, and you have to listen. So give the Elwood kids credit; they're playing hard, and they're doing what they need to do. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful for Courtney. It's wonderful for her assistant coaches, and it's just wonderful for the kids, the players in general. And it just keeps players wanting to come back. And for a program that had just 6 to 7 players 3-4 years ago, wow, I mean that's a really big deal.
And Elwood should go to 6-0 on Monday when they go to Cowan. Not a guaranteed win by any stretch, but you would think that now that they're outscoring their opponents by 20 points per game, they should beat Cowan before things start to get a little tougher. But still, getting to 6-0 would be quite an accomplishment at this stage in the rebuild.
It would. I think Cowan beat somebody the other night that I was a little surprised
Beat
at.
Madison-Grant.
Okay, well,
That's their
you
only
know,
win.
okay. Oh, it is their only win. Maybe
Their
they
only
were
win.
close. Have they been close to anybody?
Blackford.
Maybe that was it. Maybe
Yep.
they were a little close. And I know Blackford lost a lot.
Yep.
But here's the thing, and Elwood's going to go over there, and they're going to go with a chip on their shoulder because they should have won the Cowan game last year.
That's right. And
And I
also,
was there for that game. I was there and just kind of slipped away.
by the way, 5 of the first 6 games have been on the road. So, well, 4 of the first 5, and now Cowan is also on the road before Marion at home on Tuesday. That'll be a very tough one. Then they get a few days off for the holiday and come home for their first CIC game against Oak Hill, which we're about to find out is really good.
Yes. Their schedule will start to toughen up a little bit. I mean, especially once they start CIC play. Um, so the nice thing is, like Elwood, they had 3 games in that first week. Then they had this long break, and it allowed them to, when you get long breaks and you're still got a young team, it allows you to work on you. It allows you to work on fundamentals and shooting, and then do game prep for your next team up. And I think that's another nice thing with that schedule. So yes, they have a couple weeks here early where they're playing close games together, but then they get a stretch of time to go back to practice to work on things they need to work on, and then for a few days before they have to turn to game prep for their next game. And
Yeah.
be beneficial for me, especially once with Oak Hill coming up.
Yeah, and they haven't had double digit wins, in a long time. See, 2017 was the last time that they had double digit wins. So that looks like a possibility. I wouldn't say a probability necessarily, but a possibility, especially considering they have they're in the easy side of the bracket of the Madison County tournament. So um, looks like a big year ahead for the Panthers.
It does, and like I said, it's nice for them, and um, it helps to reestablish and rebuild the program. And a lot of credit goes to the kids and yes, the coaches, but a lot of credit also goes to Ryan Van Skyok, the Elwood community and the Elwood School Corporation. They have a gem in that man.
Yes, they
Um,
do.
a great guy who, he's not from Elwood. He's not an Elwood native, but he has come in and he has bled red and blue for them since he arrived, and he's done everything he can to turn things around. Great at fundraising. They've got this refurbished gym. He's got a new weight room.
And he
For
works
the
way
kids.
too many hours.
Way too many hours. He actively wants to. He doesn't mind hosting those
That's right.
IGA tournaments either, and great exposure for the school. And
Elwood's lucky to have him.
they are very lucky to have him. And I don't know, but Elwood, you may be starting to look at trying to find ways to give that man a raise.
That's right. No doubt about it. I had a very nice chat with Elwood head coach Courtney Lickliter following the game. She stayed awake just to take my phone call, and somehow I corrupted the file. It's not the first time. It's probably not the last time I'll make a mistake, but I promise I will strive to get better. And we will try to get Coach Lickliter on Monday's Week in Review to talk about the win again. Anyway, she was very happy with the victory. Of course, Elwood came back in the fourth quarter and then held on for the win despite missing some free throws. Um, big night from Breland Norris and Kendra Salee, and hopefully we can get Coach Lickliter to talk about that again. I feel horrible about it, but there's nothing I can do, so I move on and learn from it. Sorry again, Coach Lickliter. All right, Michelle, big one in the Hoosier Heritage Conference. Greenfield Central 60, Pendleton Heights 59. Greenfield Central is now 5-1, and it was their first game in the conference. Last year, Pendleton Heights was the co-champion. Greenfield Central finished third. Madison Sonsini had a 3-point play with 11.2 seconds to go. Her basket tied it. Her free throw was the winner. She had 31 points. She was 10 for 15 for the field and 10 for 11 from the free throw line. Pendleton led 18-13 at the end of the first, 36-24 at halftime, and just like against Lawrence Central on Tuesday when they led most of the first half and then got blown out in the second half, they were outscored 21-11 in the third.
Yeah, that's sometimes halftime can be the worst thing to happen. So
Yeah,
I did say that a little bit, as you people can listen to when I was talking to Coach Bates, because if you're playing really well, Greg, you've covered
that's
enough
right.
basketball. If a team's playing really well and has a hot hand, a lot of times they go into halftime, and when they come out, it's just not the same. And you're sitting there going, "Oh, I know they wish they'd never had to go to halftime."
Oak Hill is 4-0 for the first time since 2017. When they won their first 12 games and won a sectional championship before losing to Frankton in the regional championship that year. Tonight, Friday night, led Madison-Grant 19-3 at the end of the first quarter. For the game, Oak Hill had 23 steals and 17 assists. Liz Godfrey led Oak Hill with 17 points, 6 steals, and 3 assists. Landry Hardman, 9 points, 9 assists, 5 steals. Lydia Trexler, 8 points and 6 rebounds. Man, that Landry Hardman is special.
Yes.
On the soccer court, on the soccer field, on the basketball court, all she does is make plays for herself and her teammates. And just a sophomore. Already, Oak Hill looks like the top contender to Alexandria in the CIC through this point in the season.
Yeah, okay, you talk about the soccer player and basketball player, and I've said soccer is basketball played with your feet. It's not surprising. If people remember Whitney Jennings, Miss Basketball from Logansport, several years ago, she was a standout soccer player.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, she was a standout tennis player too, but I heard she also had some D1 offers for soccer. Then you've got Meredith Tippiner at
That's right.
Noblesville. So it's not, to me, it's not surprising uh, at all. I know.
She's soccer player of the year. Didn't miss a beat. Has been the best player in the state so far early in the season in
Yeah,
basketball.
yeah,
And we talked to Madison Grant head coach Jace Martin. Didn't give any Madison Grant stats, but he told us the stats earlier tonight. So I'm going to let him do that. Here's Coach Martin, and it was a nice conversation with him, Michelle.
yes, it was.
Coach, Jace Martin, welcome to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Tough game tonight. Tell us a little bit about the 58-14 loss to Oak Hill.
Oak Hill is they're pretty talented, and they put a lot of pressure on us defensively. Our girls tried to do what they could and learned some things and tried some new things, but ultimately we didn't attempt enough shots to really score enough points, and turned it over a bunch of times. And Oak Hill is really fast and athletic, and basically got what they wanted off of our turnovers.
That's going to be one of the most athletic teams you play all year, probably, right?
Well, we said that about Marion on Tuesday night.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we came in here and played that team. Athletic is probably a really good word for it, but just team speed.
Yeah.
Mixed with really strong post play and a really, really good shooter in Liz Godfrey. They're going to be a fun team for the rest of the year.
Well, for you, Jace, it's kind of a tough opening stretch for you as far as the season when you kind of have a young team like yours that's trying to put it together, playing really athletic teams and a lot talented teams early. It's kind of hard.
While dealing with injuries.
Yeah, dealing with injuries, so practices haven't looked real normal for the last week or so. And so it's just really hard to replicate all of that speed and athleticism in practice. And we can talk about it as much as we want. We have a couple boys who practice with us, and we try to put them in situations to replicate it. But it's just not the same, especially because Oak Hill is so well coached. And, they know where each other are going to be, and they know where they're supposed to be. So really hard to make that happen in practice in a way that actually represents what's going to happen on the court for our girls.
How do you, of course, the injuries set you back a little bit, but how do you see your team progressing here through almost the first month?
And how is Jasmine?
Jasmine didn't play tonight, didn't play on Tuesday night. We'll know more starting next week about what's going to happen.
Oh, what'd she hurt?
She has an injury I'd rather not disclose.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and so it's kind of a day by day.
I'll just cut that out.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Michelle. I'm not trying to be.
Oh no, that's all right.
Nope, we'll just cut the whole thing out.
Yeah, so Jasmine hopefully is getting better soon. The progression throughout the year, the girls have played hard the entire time. They are so coachable. They are trying everything that we're throwing at them. They've bought into a lot of defensive things. I feel kind of frustrated for the girls on their behalf because a lot of the scores look really lopsided, and it looks like we gave up a bunch of points, but a lot of that is because of the offensive turnovers. They are playing really hard defensively and doing exactly what we're asking them to do. And we're trying some new things defensively, and they've learned those really quickly this year.
Coach,
go ahead. I don't mean offense or anything to anybody, but I've talked about this with some other coaches. It's really hard sometimes it's really hard to find really good offensive success and being able to take care of the ball if you just don't have a good point guard, somebody that's grown up playing that, is comfortable in that position.
Well, and that's Jasmine.
Sure, yeah, and Jasmine does a good job of that. It also, you guys know, and I'm not saying this, you're not saying this, Michelle, but it's a total team effort to advance the ball up the court against pressure, and so with Jasmine, it's a struggle, but without Jasmine, it's even more of a struggle. And it's a different position. Georgia Mitchell has been kind of our backup point guard, and she's been the one dribbling the ball off the court most often for us in Jazz's absence. But just thinking about the types of dribbling drills that Georgia has done her entire life, basically she's been told to go really fast with the ball. And so much of being a point guard is standing still and dribbling while other things happen. And it's just it's a different skill that, like you're saying, Michelle, you kind of have to grow up doing it to feel really comfortable with it. It's just, you have to be a point guard that knows when to speed up, when to slow down, feel comfortable in that, and make sure you let the game come to you. Yeah. And so Georgia, for instance, and Abby Winchester, who also handles the ball for us, and Madeline Holloway and Grace Wood, they all handle the ball for us. Their best way to relieve pressure is just exactly how they've been coached, which is to go around the defender. But oftentimes as a point guard, it's not your job to go around them. It's to protect the ball for 1.5 seconds until a teammate gets open or until we run the action that we want to run. So that's been an adjustment, and it's not our girls' fault. It's not really anyone's fault. It's just, like you're saying, it's a different position that we're trying to learn on the fly.
Coach, anybody's game from tonight you want to praise?
Marley Neiman was our leading scorer with 5 points. She made a 3-pointer in the second half. Marley also had 5 rebounds. Georgia, again, did a really good job handling the ball for us in some awkward situations. AJ Hayes scored her first varsity points tonight.
Nice.
So that was really exciting for her.
Western beat Tipton 63-27 in Rushville. Western is now 2-2 and 1-0 in the Hoosier Conference. I talked about in the preview that they have three players who score the majority of their points. And they did tonight. Elise Walden, 17 points. Ella Rowlings, 16 points. Rihanna Bowman, 14 points. Got those from from Brian Gaskin's Twitter account. So thanks to Brian for that. Tipton's now 1-6 and has lost 6 in a row.
Yeah, it's you talk about scheduling, and
Yep,
it's probably something Tipton might need to look at next
sure.
year as dumbing down their schedule some.
They're playing a schedule of a team that was great for a long time.
Yeah, yes, they are. A program that could do that and could compete. They the Hoosier Conference is tough enough
Yes,
that it wouldn't hurt to play some other smaller schools just to get a few wins.
yes,
Now I will say this: I do think they're being more competitive this year and for a
absolutely.
longer period of time.
Western
Um,
beat them 75-3 last year.
yeah, so it's it's a process, and Tipton's got to stay patient.
They scored
Like I
9 times
said,
as many points tonight against Western as they did last year. So,
yeah,
it's not wins, but those are benchmarks, and they're important benchmarks.
yeah, and again, you're the problem is trying to they have some shooters, they have some scorers. They again don't have a true point guard. I mean, Mackenzie
Right.
Farinella is a sophomore, and she's doing it, but that's not what as she was younger and played. That's not the role she had. So it's a position she's learning. And when you play, and especially against really good teams, point guards, it's not because they're going to dribble through pressure around it. You just need one so they can control pace, control tempo, get people in the right positions where they're supposed to be, um, not get flustered or frustrated with pressure. And so, you know, again, Tipton is young. I mean, I know they have the two seniors, and Holland Wilson is, in the post, but they just really don't have enough experience around that. And so, but I do give them credit because they're, working hard and they have improved. And I
That's
just
right.
hope I just hope people stay patient.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately for them, like I said, the Hoosier Conference is not an easy conference.
Speaking of their schedule, they do have a couple of winnable games coming up. Taylor is at home. They don't play again until December 4th. Then Elwood on December 10th, also at home. And then things get really, really tough. At Clinton Central, at Lapel, at Sheridan, Lewis, Cass, Carroll. All of those teams are very good. Mrs. Cinnabar isn't bad. They play Lewis Cass again, Frankton, Kokomo, having a really good year. Man, they are playing at the schedule of a team that was much better not long ago, and it's not these kids' fault, but it is what it is.
Now, yes, and they're gonna you know in a Christmas holiday tournament. And now I will
Right.
say this: I do know Carroll's not the same Carroll team. They graduated
Still
harness,
pretty
and
good.
they are, but I think they're like 2-2. I mean, the last few
Yep.
years, they're not. But they did graduate their top scorers and one of
Mm-hmm.
their greatest guards ever, and the harness girl,
Right.
who's at Western Michigan now.
Right.
So now the the time off will be great for them, um, until they play. Having that time off before they play Taylor, it will allow them to say come in this week and work on some stuff to take Thanksgiving. Get a couple days off there, and then come back in and prep for Taylor. Um, and Taylor was a game they should have won last year. It was their inexperience. They had a lead, but the kids just, coaches are imploring them patience, 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 but they didn't. They took ill advised contested shots. they panicked, and when the pressure came, and it was just their youth and inexperience, and so hopefully, you know, that extra year and that win against Eastern um, will pay dividends for them because the Taylor game is very winnable. You know, they're going to get Elwood, but they get an Elwood team that's going to come in with confidence because Elwood's going to have had those wins, and Elwood has I mean, that's the one thing Elwood has that I think also is helping not only dumbing down the schedule, but and I think Coach Lickliter would agree wholeheartedly. Having a point guard like Breland Norris, having a guard like her is a huge asset.
Yes, absolutely. It allows you to get into your offense more times than not.
Yeah, exactly.
Tri Central is 2-2 after beating Taylor 46-30. The Trojans outscored Taylor 22-12 in the second half. Um, Taylor's 0-4 now, 0-2 in the conference. It was the conference opener for Tri Central. I'll tell you what, Jaleesa Harris is a nice player for Taylor.
Yeah, she's the one that really single-handedly brought Taylor back against Tipton last year.
Yeah, she's averaging 28 points of their 39.
Yes, yeah, she yeah, she is nice, and she's a great athlete, and she's fast, and the thing with that is just knowing where she's at, especially um, when you're handling the ball. Don't let her come up with steals and then the layups, and then just really is keeping everybody else contained. Don't give up. Keep and blocks out and get rebounds and stuff. For Tri Central, this is a good win.
Yeah, great start to
Tri
the season
Central
for
sucks.
Logan
They
Creason,
don't
brother.
have everybody. They're not healthy, and the Cass game when they lost, they went and they played at Lewis Cass without one of their without one of their two seniors, and 3-year varsity player Layla Keith, and who's also really good on the boards for them. So and they have one of the Dempsey twins is injured, hasn't played yet, and they have one other varsity player that's out. So for Tri Central, I think they're off to a pretty good start, considering all of that. And I know that they kind of haven't played a lot of games like some of the other schools have early. And this year, I know Coach Korn is really fine with that because he's trying to get these players healthy and back on the court. So
Great start to the season for Logan Creason.
yes, she's Logan Creason is yeah, she's a real deal inside. She's strong, she's confident, and she just works hard. I ran a photo from the game against Tipton in this past Wednesday's edition of the Tipton County Tribune, and I chose the photo, a great photo by Bob Nichols. It's You can tell he's shooting down the gym, but it's of Olivia Dempsey looking to feed the post. Logan Creason has Tipton's Holland Wilson posted up, a really good post up move, and she's smiling. She's just got this great big smile on her face. You love to see kids having fun. I mean, she doesn't have the ball in her hands yet. She's smiling. She's loving playing the game, and she's somebody who does appreciate it because she missed more than half of her season last year because of injuries and really wasn't healthy till the tournament rolled around. And boy, did she have a great sectional game. They lost, but she played outstanding in it, and so I know she's really excited for this year.
Tri Central is at home on Saturday against Tri County. That's kind of a big test. Tri County's 3-1 and has some good wins. Their only loss was against Rensselaer Central, and then they have a stretch coming up that should be quite a few wins with Madison-Grant, West Dell, Eastern, Frankfort coming up, Daleville possibly to win. So it looks like Tri Central could have a very successful year, and I believe that's a winnable sectional for them. Yeah.
Yes. It is. And today's game is a varsity only at 5:30 p.m.
Oh,
That
thanks for
was
that.
Coach the Tri Central. tweeted that out Friday afternoon. And so I'm just a reminder out there, varsity only 5:30 p.m. tip at Tri Central for their game against Tri County.
Yeah, and almost all the games on Saturday are at 7:30. It's the last Saturday before the boys' season starts, so it makes sense. Okay, Rossville beat Eastern 52-35 in Greentown. Eastern's now 0-5. It was their Hoosier Heartland opener. Marley Cone had a career high 23 points and also had 7 rebounds. Kinsey Engel had 4 points and 8 rebounds for Eastern. Ellie Winger, 3 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals. And Gianna Beachy, 3 points and 4 assists. Eastern first year head coach Sarah Murphy said the Comets cut down on their turnovers from earlier in the season, were patient on offense, and took good shots. She also said they worked really hard with the guards feeding the post this week, and they did an excellent job feeding Marley, who, like I said, had a career high 23 points. She also said she was proud of the effort. Rossville, Allie Elliott had 15 points, and their leading scorer on the season, Ava Burkles, had 13. It was their first road win of the year. Michelle, how much fun was Jennifer Jacoby to watch?
She was fun, but I'll tell you what, my favorite um, Jennifer Jacoby moment was in the sectional her freshman year. My uh, my youngest sister was on the basketball team for Tipton, and she loved taking charges and boxing out. She loved doing all those little dirty things, and she took a charge on Jacoby that was Jacoby's 5th foul of the game.
That's the best way to get someone to foul out. By the way, I've always thought that offensive fouls should not be personal fouls; they should be turnovers. But that's just my
Well, they
opinion.
are. There are turnovers too.
I know, but they shouldn't be counted as fouls. Is my point. I believe they should just be turnovers, just like double dribble, travel, all that. Anyway, just a couple more games here on Friday, then we'll go over Saturday's schedule very quickly. Wapahani 44 at Delta 42. Delta's now 4-2. Wapahani's 2-0. I think they don't schedule any games early in the year because they just expect to be in the volleyball state finals.
Yeah, well, it makes it. I'll tell you what, it makes it really easier if you do that. If you're
Yep.
used to being there, it does make it a lot easier just to hold off. I know there are some football programs in the state, smaller programs that their basketball they just go ahead and they wait till the week after Thanksgiving because they expect their football teams to at least be in the regional, or semi-state. And if they get to state, they're gonna have to push it back.
That's right.
Um, but they've already pushed it back because they just got tired of having to reschedule every year.
And Cass won at Northwestern 57-20. Cass is 4-1 now, 2-0 in the Three Rivers Conference. The Kings led 31-11 at halftime, 49-16 at the end of the third. Afton Griffin had 19 points. Miley Sipe made 4 threes and scored 14. And Hope Rush had 8 for the Kings. Northwestern's now 2-3 and 0-1. If anyone wonders why I give Lewis Cass's stats and not Northwestern's, is because I found Lewis Cass's stats and not Northwestern. So we care more about Northwestern than Lewis Cass because we consider them one of our area teams. But if I can find some stats on the game for the other team, I'm just going to find it.
Well, that's fine. Lewis Cass is a program that just 3 years ago
Yeah.
was you okay. For Tipton, it was okay. It might be a little tougher, but it's going to be a win. For Tri Central, it was a win more often than not. But Cass is just last 2 years, last year and this year, they've just kicked it up a notch, and they're really tough. So, and I remember being up there 3 years ago, maybe 3, 4 years ago, and hearing them talk about some young players they had coming up.
All right. I, Michelle, it's 2024, right?
Yes.
Okay. How is it that Muncie Central and Muncie Burris don't have scores anywhere on Twitter or on John Harrell's website? No one from the administration, from the school, thought it was a good idea to tweet it or text it to somebody.
Now, I know
It's 2024.
I know. Were they playing each other or?
No, Newcastle, Muncie Central, Burris, Westdale. Makes me wonder if the games were even played because.
Well, yeah. Well,
Oh no, Burris we know won. Burris beat Westdale. We just don't have a score.
I am
So
really shocked not to, you know, uh, to know anything with Muncie Central or Newcastle. And,
I
you
know.
know, I really believe that in this day and age, I think it's really sad that when your athletic departments don't tweet out scores.
Yeah,
Even if
I,
it's
I
even all you want to, I like the quarter by quarter if you want to give it, but if not, at least at the end of the night, tweet
exactly.
out the final score.
And yeah, some effort needs to be made. I understand the athletic directors. That's not their only job. I get it. I really do. But it's not hard to say, hey, you really care about sports and you're part of the school administration. Will you tweet out the score? Will you get on our account and tweet out our score? It's not that hard.
Well, and if you figure it out, here's the thing: you have to have an administrator at the game.
Yes.
So what you do is if whoever Muncie Central Newcastle, whoever is the home, that administrator just tweets out the score at the end of the game and and it's not hard to tag it either. And if
No.
you're old school and you don't like social media, well, then find you're right. Find somebody who will do it or just do it. It's jobs change. You and I know that. I mean,
Yep.
how you have to do and what you do and
Hey, there's
everything.
a school.
I have all the respect in the world for athletic directors
Yes.
because they put in a lot of time. But I also know I have even more love for the ones that um, tweet out information. Ryan Van Skyok, Brent Brops, and Brops at
Yeah.
Frankton is a perfect example. He really doesn't do that very
Doesn't do it at
often,
all.
but they got all those administrators that can do that, and
That's
they do
right.
it.
That's
And
right.
so, Frankton Athletics is really great at it.
Yes. And so
Kurt
is Ryan.
Austin is really great at it at Hamilton Heights. You know, if
Yeah.
if if Hamilton Heights doesn't get something out, then Kurt probably wasn't there or the coach hasn't gotten it to him,
No.
in time to tweet out. But he does a great job of it. Tri Central, they do a pretty good job of it.
Yeah.
Tipton has
By the way,
hired
I
and
wanted to
gotten
mention
better at it
this.
this year.
I wanted to mention this, Michelle. Tipton, the athletic director, isn't into that. So he did the right thing and he assigned it to someone else who's done an
Yes,
excellent job with it. That's how you
yes,
do it. You don't have to do it yourself.
right,
Delegate. Anyway, to
yes,
Saturday's games real fast. 4-0 Oak Hill goes to a good 3-3 Norwell team at 7:30. All the games are 7:30 unless I say otherwise. 4-0 Kokomo is about to be 5-0. They go to Fort Wayne South. Newcastle 1-4 or 1-5 or 2 so don't know their score. They go to Frankton, which is 2-3. 1-4 Blackford's at Muncie Central, which is either 3-2 or 2-3. Mississinawa 1-4 is at 2-1 Lures. We will have that's at 1:30. We'll have a report from Kevin Helfrich on that one. You can find that at player.cloudradionetwork.com/action sportnet c. And that is, you can also find it by searching his name, I'm sure. Kevin Helfrich will have a report on that one for us. 1-4 Madison-Grant goes to 4-1 Bluffton. Bluffton is 4-1 after beating Huntington North 66-45 on Friday night. 0-4 Anderson is at a good 1-2 Lawrence North team at 7:30 again. 3-1 Tri County at 2-2 Tri Central. As you said, that one's at 5:30 today. And 0-5 Eastern goes to 5-2 Anderson Prep, which has won 4 in a row.
yeah. They have Anderson Prep has got some good athletes. They won their first sectional game against Tri Central last year.
And they
Um,
actually were missing some players earlier in the seasons, or they might even have a better record.
yeah, I mean, yes, you're right.
A couple other events on Saturday, just go over real fast. Boys wrestling, Hamilton Heights has their Super Six with Alexandria, Hamilton Heights, North Central, Noblesville, Pendleton Heights, and Tipton. The Daleville Broncos Super Duels with Blackford, Daleville, Pendleton Heights, and they can't be at both. I don't think Pendleton, but I guess they could. And Wapahani. The Campbell Invitational at Northfield includes Oak Hill and Tri Central. The Capital City Classic at Perry Meridian is Anderson is at that one. Kokomo is at the John Hurley Invitational at Indianapolis Tech. West Dell is at the Bluffton Invitational, and Sheridan is at the Cloverdale Invitational. Girls wrestling, a big one. Clinton Prairie Open Invitational, it's called. Cowan, Eastern, Kokomo, Madison Grant, Pendleton Heights, Taylor, and Tri Central will be at that one.
Frankton and Tipton too.
Oh, is that right? Okay. And in girls swimming, the Greenfield Central Invitational includes Oak Hill, and Yorktown is at the Westfield Invitational. And that was a long night, Michelle.
Yes, it was.
Thank you so
And
much for doing this. Any
you're
final
welcome.
thoughts before I doze off?
No, did you mention that the Elwood's boys wrestling team got a big win, or they got
Oh,
a win tonight
I
against
did
Southern
not.
Wells?
I do want to say that I've had some trouble contacting wrestling and swimming coaches. I'm going to take a different approach this week and hopefully start to get some wrestling and swimming and bowling results. If we don't have daily scoreboards on those, and at this point we probably will not, we will cover the big meets. We will talk to coaches and do features with the teams and things like that. Eventually, it is something that we will do for every sport.
Yes, and and try to get it this week. If not this week, definitely maybe the following week. I know with Thanksgiving and breaks and everything, it's tough. And we'll say this: a lot of wrestling coaches are lay coaches. I mean, Frank, I
Swimming
think
too.
yes. Well, yes,
Yep.
yeah, they are. I know Elwood and Tipton swimming coaches aren't lay coaches,
Right,
so
but many, many are.
yeah.
It
So it,
didn't used to be that way, but it is now.
right, and so it makes it really hard because they're trying to find time, juggle their day job and then go to practice and our meets and then family. And if it's something they're not used to, it changing their routine, sometimes it kind of takes a little nagging at it and everything. And I will say this too. I will say I know there are websites out there, but all these websites out there, you've got to become simpler. I
Yeah.
reached out to Tipton's coaches to try to get results from their girls thing, and they said USA Wrestling, and I couldn't find them on USA Wrestling. I'm sure there's a different link. I might have to go to Indiana. I didn't
Yep.
have time to really play with it,
They need
and
to go to one source as well instead of four or
yes,
five. Same with cross country and track, and they need to consolidate these things.
they
Um,
do, and they
but it's
need
hard to
to.
do because the IHSA really can't tell a school how to report their stats
No,
and
but all it
scores.
takes is here's the thing: if you send the link once,
Yes.
because that's how I ended up being able to do it. Sometimes if you can send the link once per season, that's all you need because then you go in and then you go to the home and then you're right there. For the one meet, then you go back. It's
Yep.
easier. But it or just let people know that it's like with the track. I didn't realize in cross country that you had to do something in,
Yeah.
put the IN for Indiana because when you went to the homepage, it didn't give you all of that until you put in that one code. And
Yep.
I don't. There's just no reason that schools can't make that um,
And some do.
valuable.
Some do. Some do a very good job of that. Oak Hill being one, Eastern being another, making sure that we always know where the results
And I
are.
want
So,
to know why they switch. I mean,
yeah,
I thought track wrestling, was pretty good. That's what the IHSA had. Unless IHSA is not going doing track wrestling, going to do track wrestling this year.
right,
But I had finally mastered that one, and
right.
now I got a new one that I'm trying to figure out.
And now it's Indiana Matter or whatever. Anyway, they have a very nice podcast, by the way. So if you're a wrestling fan, you should go listen to that. And hopefully, we'll start to get into some local wrestling soon. Michelle, this has been fun. By the way, I was a swimmer, so I really like swimming as well. So I really hope to be able to do a lot with that. Thanks again to Coach Newby and Coach Bates, Coach Lickliter, and Coach Martin for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. Once again, so sorry to Coach Lickliter for botching her interview. Thanks again, also sincerely, to Michelle Garmon, who gives up so much of her time for the Central Indiana Sports Report because she loves Central Indiana sports. And thanks most of all to you for listening, because there would be no podcast without listeners. And in my circumstance, I know a lot of the listeners, so it's a little extra special.